quite a bit from the original sign up. So again, we have 27 folks. What I'm going to do, there's a couple folks who indicated they need to get up and leave, and then there's quite a few people from Verde who would like to testify today who are going to need translation services. So I'm going to bring them up right after the first two speakers, and we'll go through their testimony and then get into the rest. But again, I ask you to please try to be brief, and if you're saying the same thing with the person who testified before you, as already said, just again, please indicate that in the interest of time, because we'd like everybody to be heard. So first one, 2 minutes, Lane Jensen.
Hello again, Lane Jensen, Portland Transit Lane. Real quick question to start out. We all know that money is a problem in TriMet. Would you all agree with that? That it's a problem?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, great. So, yeah, this board over the last fiscal year, like I stated earlier, has spent over $150 million on either new contracts or modifications to existing contracts. Now, this board is screaming help and cutting the bus service that this city is so dependent on to get around, yet you don't shed one simple tear or bat one eye to it. Let's not also forget that Dave Oxy, your son, Andrew, is the project manager for the Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail project through Stacy and Whitback. I don't know how transparent that can be, giving money from your dad's company to the son's company. We all know that the Employee Relations Board ruling says that TriMet must pay back the $136,000 of premiums that they stole from the employees. So far, this has not happened. Yet the managers who Neil approved has spent over $300,000 on facelifts on the new 3000 series buses. Retirees are getting screwed. You say this is a family wage job with benefits. Yet one driver I know personally who worked for 15 years, let me give you a very brief story of his paycheck. He gets a base pay of $935. He pays $93 in taxes. His health insurance as a retiree is $188. He's left with $648 for all of his other expenses: food, gasoline, rent, clothing, etc. According to the Metro Multifamily Housing Association, the average two-bedroom apartment in Portland is now at $771 a month. So you're telling me that the retiree, after working for 15 years, putting his life at risk for almost 4,000 days, can't even afford a decent place to live? Could you live on $648 a month? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Moving on, Alando Simpson, City of Rose's disposal.
Thank you, board, for allowing me to speak today. Can you hear me? Yes, good. Yeah, again, my name is Orlando Simpson. My company is City of Rosa Disposal and Recycling. And first of all, I just wanted to, again, thank you guys for allowing me to be here today to testify on behalf of a particular topic that I have grown a lot of passion around. I would first like to bring your attention back to an April resolution number 13-04-26 pertaining to the fixed route bus tire contract, which the board desires for the prime contractor White's Tires to increase its EV efforts in areas such as servicing, recapping, and disposal of these tires. I'm also confident to say that with the outreach efforts which have been conducted by your equity program, specifically Janelle Bell and Monica Johnson, these particular scopes have been brought to our attention. I'm also proud to mention that as the owner of the City of Rose's Disposal and Recycling, which is the first ever African-American owned material recovery facility, which for those of you who don't know is a recycling facility in the state of Oregon ever. These efforts conducted by TriMet staff have essentially opened up new doors, and most importantly, the opportunity for my company to develop relationships with another public agency that is putting forth the efforts in its EVE programs to become more equitable in contract dollars. And most importantly, socially sustainable. Historically, City of Roses has done work as a subcontractor on the Portland Streetcar, the Max Line of Clackamas, and currently the PMLR. However, there's never been an opportunity presented to us for general fund budget dollars. And I believe right now this is a innovative way in terms of you guys are going about it. I looked back at some of your previous board meetings and I saw that the resolution was tabled You guys wanted to outreach, for them to outreach and look for their other EV opportunities. And I just wanted to say, and take my hat off and say thank you for that, because right now we're in discussions, and hopefully this will be a new avenue for us and a new venture for us to open up to get more innovative in our growth and development as a waste recycler in the state of Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we have a number of folks from Verde who would like to address the board today. And I'm going to call you up at two at a time. I understand we have some translation services here. And one of our staff here to help that out. Is that right? Oh, here we go. Not one of our staff. A bunch of folks. We're going to have Blanca Clarita Martinez, Araceli Becerril. That probably butchered your names there, so please tell me the correct pronunciation.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Blanca Barreta y yo vengo a pedir por favor si nos pueden dar más tiempo en los tickets del bus, porque yo utilizo mucho el bus con mis 4 hijos.
Again, my name is Blanca Barrita. I wanted to please ask you to extend the transfer time for our tickets. I used it quite a lot with my 4 children.
Yo llevo a mis niños a jugar deportes, fútbol, y a veces se nos pasa el tiempo y tengo que volver a pagar, y llevo 2 niños, estoy pagando por mi niño, por mí, y ya voy a pagar en unos meses más por el otro niño. Hay veces que el ticket se me vence, 4 minutos o 3 minutos que se me vence, me han bajado de la parada porque ya se venció, porque tengo que volver a pagar otra vez, y se me hace a mí mucho.
Particularly, when I take my children to sports, particularly soccer, and sometimes the time runs out, so I have to pay for my child, for myself, but for my children, and I'm going to have other children that also need to be part of it. So is the expense itself, and the other part of it is that sometimes the time runs out by 3 or 4 minutes, and basically I'm told to take, get off the bus because the time just expires. So then I have to pay another ticket.
Mi niño pequeño lo traigo en deportes porque está pasadito de peso, entonces para mí es importante traerlo en deportes para que baje, más que todo por su salud, porque yo tengo diabetes y entonces quiero que mis niños no suban de peso.
And I particularly get my children involved with sports, particularly one of them that is a little bit overweight because I want to lose some of that weight, and particularly since I also am diabetic and don't want to make sure for health reasons that suffers.
Gracias y gracias por la parada que nos acaban de poner a la Julio. Gracias.
And also want to thank you for the new bus shelter that was installed on Collier.
Importante porque para que no nos mojemos.
It's very important so we don't get all wet and break down.
Gracias.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Araceli y quiero dar las gracias a la mesa directiva del TAINE, gracias al doctor Vete.
My name is Araceli. I want to particularly thank the board of directors and particularly Dr. Beckman.
Quiero dar las gracias por haber dado la oportunidad de conocernos y escucharnos al grupo de mujeres líderes verdes.
Thank you for providing us the opportunity to meet each other and for you to meet the leaders of Verde.
Vivo en Culi y uso la línea 72 y 75. Gracias por la nueva parada de autobús que ya nos otorgaron.
I live in the Cali neighborhood. I use bus 72 and 75. I live in the Cali neighborhood. And again, thank you for that new bus stop.
También creo que es importante alargar el tiempo de transfer porque a veces uno tiene que ir a los deportes, a los niños, a las escuelas, a las clínicas y no alcanza el tiempo, entonces tiene uno que volver a comprar un ticket.
I also wanted to speak for the extension of the transfer time because we have to go to the schools, take our children to schools, to sports, to the clinics, and sometimes the time runs out.
Por eso creo que es importante que debería de dar 3 horas de transfer. Muchas gracias por escucharme y hacer esto realidad.
I want to thank you that's why I think it's important to extend the interaction time to 3 hours. Thank you for this opportunity and to be able to speak to you.
I have Asuncion Quijada and Alejandro Perez. You also see her both testifying in support of the campaign for fair transit.
Muy buenos días.
Así es.
Vengo también a lo mismo. Yo soy Asunción.
So my name is Asuncion.
Y
Excuse
vengo,
me, would you speak more into the mic? Either you have a softer voice or I got old ears.
I have old ears.
pues igual vengo a pedir que por favor nos otorguen un poco más de tiempo en los tickets de una subida, porque a veces cuando lo utilizamos el bus a veces viene un poco retrasado y no se nos es posible regresar a casa nuevamente. Y nada más solo por hacer unas citas, unos pagos y el bus y el ticket que nos otorgan en el bus es muy poco tiempo. Y también el otro punto.
Just wanted to again speak also in favor of granting more time for the tickets, for more transfer time, particularly because sometimes the buses are delayed, and so we're not able to complete some of the basically the one-way the trip itself, in part because we have to make payments or other appointments, so it's important for us to grant more time. The other point is,
Bueno, también tengo ya más de 3 años transportando esta línea de Charme y también quiero felicitarlos porque es para mí la forma que me puedo conducir hacia mi trabajo. Y también se me es un poco difícil que los fines de semana hay una línea que es realmente pasa muy pocas veces y solamente pido que por favor haya más tiempo los fines de semana también. Las 36.
so I want to thank you again for the service that Exxon 977. I've been writing for the past 3 years and grateful for that, but also I'm concerned about some of the another line basically that is in the weekends basically runs very little, so it doesn't provide the greater service.
So Alejandro Perez is not here.
Alejandra actually submitted something in writing. I'm just going to read just for your record. Basically, she wants to say that my name is Alejandra. I wrote this letter because I'm interested I was interested in being able to attend, but unfortunately because of work, I was not able to make it. I'm interested in providing you my perspective, opinion, because it is not just that we have to pay $2.50 for only 2 hours to be able to go shop and be able to make that return trip, and not be able to use the bus at times to go to work or to go back and forth basically during our shopping or to our appointments with the doctors. I have used the bus service for the past 15 years. It's my only means of transportation. I hope you take into consideration our, our needs. Again, this is Alejandra Perez.
Thank you. My apologies. Yes, sir. My apologies, sir.
So I have next to Isabel Jihada and Susanna Pacheco. They're running to get up here.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Isabel Quijada y primeramente estoy aquí para agradecerle al señor Allen y a ustedes de la mesa directiva por habernos ayudado a reparar la parada de autobús de la línea 72 que está localizada en la 60 y Kingswood, y gracias a nombre del grupo Líderes Verdes y el vecindario de Juli por habernos escuchado.
First, well, my name is Isabel Quijada. I'm here to thank the board, in particular Mr. Bethel, for assisting us and for the, in a sense, the repairs or the transfer of the bus shelter for 972 located on 60th and Kennelsworth. And again, on behalf of the leaders of Verde, I want to thank you for that, also the neighbors from Colina.
Yo uso la parada del bus número 72 y 77 y soy miembro de Pasajeros Unidos y de Líderes Verdes.
Used the bus stops for 972, 77. I'm a leader of Verde and also a member of the Bus Riders Union.
Y estoy aquí para pedirles por favor que aumenten una hora más en los tickets del bus para que sean 3 horas y así nos darían un poco más de tiempo para ir a hacer las compras de nuestros hijos, llevarlos a sus citas médicas o algún deporte que ellos tienen.
I want to ask you again to extend another hour the transfer time to be able for us to go with our children to do our shopping, to take them to sports, to make their appointments.
Ya que es el único medio de transporte que tenemos, y también me gustaría que la línea de autobús 77 fuera más frecuente.
And to be able to complete our trips and also in part because we depend on it, and the other is to request that line 77 be much more frequent.
Bueno, gracias a la mesa directiva por habernos escuchado hoy. Les pido que tengan el valor de lo mejor que pueden ser y que mejorar el sistema es posible y que todo se puede lograr. Gracias.
And I want to thank the board, wish for the best that you can do to be able to improve overall the system.
Gracias.
And to have the courage to do that, by the way.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Susana Pacheco.
Good morning, Susana Pacheco.
Y les doy gracias a la mesa directiva de Trimer
I want to thank the board director of TriMet
por haber escuchado la necesidad que teníamos en la parada de la 60 en Killesburg.
to be able to have been able to listen to our need on the bus stop located on 60th and Kennelsworth.
Porque ahora las personas que no creían en que podían lograr esto, lo logramos y están muy contentas.
Because the people that didn't think it was achievable, are very happy that this was done.
Y estoy aquí también para, si es posible, que nos puedan dar una hora más.
Also
en el
here to
transfer,
request, an additional hour for the transfer time.
porque soy madre de 3 hijas y muchas veces se me hace difícil salir con mi hija.
And mother of three daughters, and sometimes it's very hard for me to go out with my daughter.
Porque si tengo $20, tengo que dejar 10 para el bar.
Because if I have $20, I have to be able to, basically use 10 of those for the bus.
Y me duele no poder muchas veces salir con mi hija porque es una. Ahora pienso en las madres que tienen dos y tienen que pagar el ticket de dos niños y lo de ella.
So, and this is, if I only take, one daughter, and so I feel bad because, sometimes I have to decide whether I take it or not, and I feel bad for other families that have more children.
Y yo les pediré a ustedes que pongan una hora más, no para mí, sino para las madres que tienen más hijos y puedan lograr, si quieren llevar a sus hijos a comer una hamburguesa de $10.
So I hope that, you consider extending the time, not for me, but for other mothers that have more children, to even just to go out and have a hamburger, $1 hamburger with their child.
Y yo sé que ustedes pueden lograr la felicidad de otros niños y gracias por venir.
I know that you can contribute to the happiness of our children, so I thank you for your time.
All right, the next two I have are Elia Brasamontes and Rosa Isela Portugal.
Buenos días, mesa directiva.
Good morning, Board of Directors.
Gracias por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Yo soy madre de familia, tengo 2 hijos.
I am a mother with 2 children.
Mi hija mayor tiene epilepsia y por tal motivo tiene que ir a una escuela especial.
My oldest daughter has epilepsy, and for that she has to go to a special school.
Y tengo que llevarla en bus.
And I have to take her by bus.
Y lamentablemente 2 horas no me son suficientes para llegar hasta la escuela que está bastante retirada.
And sometimes, basically, the 2 hours does not allow me enough time to take her to that school because it's quite far away.
Y no todas las escuelas tienen la ayuda de tickets para los niños.
And not every school has fair assistance for children.
Gracias por darme la oportunidad y nuevamente me gustaría que sí agregaran una hora más al servicio.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that you add more time to the transfer time. And for the next day, you got it.
Mi nombre es Rosa Hernández.
My name is Rosa Hernandez.
So Elia is not here. Then the last person I have from Verde, tell me if I'm missing anybody. Excuse me, is Rosa Isela Portugal. That was the last person I had, actually. So, and she's not here?
She's not here.
Is not able to speak, so she's here, but she's not able to speak because of her sore throat.
Well, thank you for coming. So, did I miss anybody on the? Great, thank you very much. Thanks for their participation. This is very helpful.
Señoras, les quiero dar las gracias por participar hoy y para que pudiéramos escuchar lo que tienen, que es necesario para usar el POSI para su familia también. Gracias.
Gracias.
All right, moving on, I have Andre George, who did provide us some written testimony, and Vivian Satterfield from Opal.
How do you do, Board of Directors? My name is Andre George. I want to thank you for the time here. I'm just going to read the written material. This letter serves to introduce the proposition of creating neighborhood TriMet business community wealth share distribution corridors. Its implementation and suggestions of direction toward data reserves that may be available through either the city's computer banks and/or Portland State University School of Urban Studies and/or the Portland Business Alliance for the application of information towards the realization of this proposition. The main thrust of this proposition is to enact an all-win monetary flow of commerce among the increasingly dependent segments of Portland's neighborhood populations on public transportation and the access to goods, services, and entertainment along designated business community corridors. The intent is to install the monthly TriMet public transport pass for a means by which the bearer may receive a 5% discount from participating businesses for goods and/or services that are located within a 3-block walking distance from any tri-county public transportation embarkation and disembarkation system. The benefits of this proposition are self-evident. It provides for increased sustainability and funding for TriMet by way of continued purchases of the monthly pass, a realized savings or conditional rebate of the monthly pass by way of purchases from businesses at the 5% discount. It is possible that the pass can potentially pay for itself, thus providing, quote, free, unquote, transportation for consumers and commuters, and an enhanced flow of customers, thus profitability for all participating businesses. Additionally, there can be mutually beneficial advertising for businesses and TriMet by way of a monthly updated Share Wealth Guide published both physically and electronically on behalf of the consuming public for special seasonal discounts and promotions. This proposition promotes the ease, speed, and flow of currency within the Share Wealth corridors, thus enhancing the financial well-being of both the City of Portland and the greater Tri-County areas. It is for these reasons that I urge you to support the implementation of this proposition. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board President, members of the board. My name is Vivian Satterfield. I'm the Associate Director of Oklahoma Environmental Justice Oregon, also a member of Bus Riders Unite. During a first Saturday outing with fellow Bus Riders Unite members, talking to bus riders about our proposal to extend transfer times, I had an interesting encounter which I'd like to share with you today. I tried speaking to a woman who shrugged me off, but unlike someone who wasn't interested in engaging in conversation or was about to reach their destination, she shrugged me off because she didn't need a 3-hour transfer on weekends. She said, "That's already the rule," she insisted. I didn't think more about that until a more careful reading of TriMet Code a bit later. TriMet Code had allowed, with the manual tear-off tickets, riders to board a bus and receive a transfer that was valid for 2 hours past the end of the line on weekends. It's not just practical, but essential for bus riders on weekends, when service frequency is much lower, especially for those living on the outer edges of the city. Transfers of 3 hours or longer were the norm. That is, until the summer of 2013. Riders saw a number of upgrades to their riding experience this year alone: electronic fares, new buses, new bus stops, some limited service improvements, and ticket printers on buses. Of all these marked improvements, however, one of them had an unintentional consequence of actually costing bus riders time and money. Bus riders boarding on the weekend are now receiving less time on their transfers than before the installation of the ticket printers. They're losing an hour or more. Ticket printers allow for 2-hour transfers, and that's all. No matter that the 22 in Park Rose only comes once an hour on the weekends, or the number 10 Herald, which I live closest to, doesn't even run at all on weekends, leaving me to rely on a number of transfers to make sure I can configure an alternative route to get home. So who's out riding the buses on the weekends? From its own data shows that cash and single ticket riders make up a bigger proportion of boardings on the weekend, because unlike during the week, most weekend travel is discretionary. Those are special trips to the zoo or downtown museum, a shopping trip to Eastport Plaza or Lloyd Center, an opportunity to return all those library books and DVDs. I've been thinking of that woman I met months ago who insisted that 3-hour transfers were the norm on weekends, and I wonder if she'd listen to me now, knowing that her weekend travel time has been cut and that we're still here asking for an extension of transfer times. This board has heard all of our arguments in favor of the policy change. If the equity argument of CFT doesn't convince you, if the affordability of CFT doesn't sway you, and if the efficiency of CFT doesn't move you, then will the simple restoration of transfer times that weekend riders have now lost move this board to do something timely and in the best interest of bus riders? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next two I have Emily Brown and Keith Schultz. Must be fall.
Good morning. I need to leave really soon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. I need to leave really soon, so I'll make this brief. But my name is Emily Brown. I am here on behalf of Bus Riders Unite. I live in Southeast Portland, and I ride lines 14, 4, and 70. I'm also here to talk about the transfer times, but for a slightly different reason. I am a single ticket rider, and often 2 hours isn't really enough time for me to make riding the bus worth it. I frequently cannot make an entire trip on only 2 hours, and not wanting to pay $5 for a single trip, I have to find other ways to get around. The other night, I was at a community meeting, and I would have had to choose between walking home in the dark by myself or leaving the meeting early to catch a bus because my ticket had expired. Luckily, someone else was able to spare an extra bus ticket so I could make it home safely. However, this is not the first time that this has happened to me, and I'm definitely not the only bus rider who feels that having more time to ride would make it safer and more affordable for us to ride the bus. I have talked to over 100 other bus riders, and they all agree that the cost of transportation has skyrocketed. We understand that in this economy, the cost of everything has just gone up. I don't make very much money, and I'm often forced to make hard decisions about transportation. Adding a third hour to the time on one ticket would add value to the money that I and others pay to ride. And knowing that I would be able to make an entire trip on one ticket would make me much more inclined to ride the bus and make me safer while doing so. Thank you so much for considering what I have to say.
I have a question for you. So you consider a trip a round trip? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith, welcome back.
Yeah, took a couple of months off. Yeah. Good morning. I'm Keith Schultz, a Gresham resident, Opal and Bus Riders Unite advocate and volunteer, and I am transit dependent. I'm here to promote the campaign for a fair transfer. 3 years ago, Bus Riders Unite was looking for ways to make transit in the Portland area better. As a group, we voted to prioritize the campaign for a fair transfer as a way to make the transit experience more equitable. This would correct some of the inequalities due to service reductions and, in some cases, service eliminations and fare increases. This has caused many of us to wait longer times at bus stops to make connections. For example, I have a friend, Nancy, who works nights as a caregiver all over the Portland area. She sometimes has to use 2 tickets or buy a day pass just to get to work in the evening, and then has to use more tickets or buy a new day pass the next morning to get home. Because of her work schedule, it's not always advantageous for her to buy a day pass in the morning, since she may not need to travel later that same day. Personally, I try to buy a monthly pass whenever I can, but when I cannot afford it, or when it is early in the month before I receive my Social Security check, I use SAM sometimes, the free bus service from Gresham to Sandy. Believe it or not, the mall in Sandy has most of what I need all in one place, while these stores are all spread out in Gresham. So instead of using TriMet to access stores closer to my home, I use the free Sandy bus service instead. It takes a little longer, but it's free and convenient, and the buses are even cleaner. Unfortunately, they'll start charging $1 for this service in October, but they will increase service to 7 days a week and make it more frequent during the day. What a concept! A higher fare, but better service at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Next two I have Ethan Moore and Ben Marston.
Ben had to leave.
All right. How about Chris Walker? You want to come up, Chris?
I'm actually Ethan Moore, and in the interest of time, what I'm actually going to do is deliver to you the letter written by Yung Ho, who is the tenant coordinator at the Community Alliance of Tenants. She was going to give testimony, but unfortunately had to leave just now. So she actually brought enough copies for all of you, so I'll just hand them out and note that the Community Alliance of Tenants is a grassroots membership organization. It has many members and serves many people who are low income and are forced to live in food deserts or other areas where it can be difficult to accomplish what they need to at the current price and time that they get on the transfer.
Everybody in the board know what a food desert is? Okay, all right, whatever. All right, Chris?
Okay, I didn't know we were.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. Two issues affecting both people with disabilities and the west side of town. Recently, because of budget shortfalls and stuff, we decreased, as you remember, we were debating the weekend lift zoning because of budget shortfalls and stuff. And so, as you are considering the increase of bus service fixed route, I think you guys should also put on that track service for people with disabilities. I know it was a very hard time for a lot of people when that cutback went through. But also, I've noticed issues on the west side at surrounding the new Hops Ballpark / Hillsborough Stadium area. I had an outing that I took couldn't take the 47 or the 46 to on a Friday because they didn't go to it directly or on the weekend. But the lift was able to take me there on Friday, but Saturday I had to find an address close to the ballpark, the stadium, to go to get a pickup and drop off from, and it was somewhere that I go every Sunday that was like 1/4 of a mile from the stadium. And it surprised me that you guys actually went that close but couldn't actually go to the stadium. But anyway, so I found around, but at night it's harder for me to see, and I can tend to walk the other way instead of walking the way I should walk, just because of the lighting and the street signs and stuff. So I'm just thinking that it might be important as we consider the service increases to think about poorer parts of town or parts of town that people are using but are having a hard time with. So,
Chris? Yeah, Bill Gentile, if I'm reading your last name properly, and Madeline Moore. Welcome. Bill, you're up.
Board President Warner, members of the TriMet Board, my name is Bill Gentile. I'm a transit-dependent writer and the current chair of the Elders in Action Commission. At a recent board meeting, Elders in Action testified on behalf of expanding frequent service, and we still support any increases in service that improve the transit system. However, today I am here to testify in support of the 3-hour transfer proposal. The Elders in Action Commission, a volunteer group of over 20 older adult advocates, voted at our July meeting to sign on as supporters of Opal's 3-hour transfer proposal. In our commission meeting, we frequently share stories about how older adults in our communities are dealing with issues concerning housing, transportation, nutrition, and health care. But more often than not, we just realize how it is all connected for seniors who are transit dependent and living on fixed incomes. Now, admittedly, the Honored Citizen Fare is a very good program. We really appreciate it. A $2 pass is excellent. If all the other costs of living stayed fairly constant, I wouldn't actually have to be here. But as you know, that is not the case. Costs in housing, food, just daily life have gone up tremendously compared to the fixed incomes that many seniors have. And those few dollars that can be saved on an extended transfer, for some people, can mean a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread when the cupboards get bare. So a transit system that offers frequent service and 3-hour transfer times will go a long way to improve the lives of seniors in our community. Please note that we're advocating for both. It's not for us an either or decision. Just as a quick note, roughly 10,000 people per day are eligible for retirement, and that is expected to go on for the next several years. So not all of them will be healthy, not all of them will be able to fend for themselves or drive a car. So anything you can do to increase frequency and establish that 3-hour transfer fare would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Mandoline?
Madeline.
No, okay.
Good afternoon, my name is Madeline. I live at Foster and Powell. The bus I use most often is the number 9, and I'm a member of Bus Riders Unite. I moved to Portland a few weeks ago, and I've been searching for jobs and going to interviews. And one thing I've noticed that 2 hours is just too short for me to get to an interview and back. On one occasion, I was able to go to Clackamas and then make it back as far as 92nd and Powell before my ticket ran out, and then I walked the remainder home about 25 blocks. And it works that time, but generally I have to buy 2 tickets to go to each interview, which means that I spend $5 per interview, which is a lot for an unemployed person. And if the transit time was extended to 3 hours, then I could make it to the interview and back almost every time. It would be useful for myself and probably for other job seekers. Thank you.
Good luck in your job search.
Thanks.
All right, we got Michael Bray and Terry Jarrell.
Terry's not here.
Okay. How about Nicole Johnson? There's a winner on that name?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. Thanks for hanging in there. I'm sure everybody's getting hungry. My name is Mike Bray. I've been volunteering with Opal Environmental Justice since last January. I want to start by commending you all on your willingness to maintain a productive dialogue with Opal, Bus Riders Unite, and all the transit users who TriMet serves. As you are well aware, your decisions directly affect people that use this system and not always in the same manner. What better way to hear and evaluate these effects than directly from the feedback of riders? You all have echoed this sentiment multiple times today, and I applaud that. I'm not transit dependent. I'm a choice rider. Most of my daily travel is done on a bicycle, and I have a car when one is necessary. Now, if you saw my car, you would know what I mean by necessary. I'm also a parent of young children and have been struggling with underemployment since graduating from Portland State 2 years ago. The choices I make are influenced by my strong belief in environmental stewardship as well as what is within my financial means. While being fortunate enough to live in an area of high service by TriMet, I am not very close to a max stop, and I rely almost completely on buses when I do use public transit. When I want to take my daughters to a park outside of our neighborhood, or to their soccer games, which they have many of, or to look for school clothes, I am fortunate enough to have a choice in whether we take mass transit or drive. I know that using mass transit will reduce my impact on the environment, that reducing car trips will improve public health and the economy of our region. Again, if you saw my car, you'd know I have other motivations. But I also know that I cannot take the bus to my daughter's soccer practices on a single transfer. We used to be able to attend close-in weekend games on one transfer when we had more than 2 hours, but this has changed since the electronic ticketing machines have gone in. This lost time, and value is one example of an unintended consequence of decisions that the agency makes. So that is one adult transfer and 2 minors, about $5.80 each way. $11.60 makes the bus far less economical for me than just driving. Extending transfer times would mean that these activities, which enhance my life and the lives of my children, would be completed taking TriMet. I could leave my car at home and support my local transit system. It is choices like this that you all want the public to be making. You want me to have this option for the fiscal stability of the agency and the health of our region. The decision to extend transfer times is one you can make knowing exactly where the public stands and having heard exactly how it will affect us. I hope that this will guide your discussions regarding service improvements over the next month, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I have a question. Thank you. Sorry, we'll stick up, but please go, Ms. Johnson.
Okay, thank you. So President Warner, members of the board, good morning, or afternoon. Yes. My name is Nicole Johnson. I'm a youth organizer with Opal Environmental Justice Oregon. I'm speaking to you today to urge you to act in favor of our campaign for a fair transfer. I know you all want to make the best informed decision for TriMet, for the riders, for the public, and also for the people close to you that use the system as well. You have the information and data to make that decision. And even though some of you may not be transit dependent, there is someone in your life who is. I say this because I have a classmate who I didn't realize struggled as a transit dependent person until she shared her testimony with me. She couldn't be here today, so I have the honor of presenting her testimony to you. And she says, Chair Warner and members of the board, my name is Erika Molina. I'm a student at Portland State University and I'm a transit rider. Today I'm here to share my story and show my support for the campaign for a fair transfer. I'm a first-generation college student working to get my bachelor's in community development and women's studies. I have to commute to PSC from Gresham every day. I know many students like myself who are transit dependent. The 2-hour transfer does not allow me to get to school, and on some days it takes me 2.5 hours because of the decreased bus service and limited buses that run at night and on the weekends. A 2-hour transfer does not allow enough time for people to make trips to the doctor or to pick up important paperwork for school, and in my case, simply get home. As a working full-time college student, it would be more feasible if I could transfer on a 3-hour bus ticket costing $2.50 instead of paying $5 for a day pass that I don't need. As we move forward with the decision on the campaign of a fair transfer, I hope you will keep my story in mind. You are not just affecting people who ride the bus, you are affecting people like myself who rely on transit to improve their lives. Thank you for your time, Erika Molina. So just really quick, our campaign isn't to burden TriMet with extra unnecessary costs. It's about providing a lifeline to opportunity through having affordable and reliable access, if only by adding 1 more hour on the transfer. I trust that you will make the right decision so that Erika and I and bus riders will thank this board for making a tough and noble decision to give back to the riders and continue TriMet's well-known accomplishment as one of the best transit systems in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you. Sorry, we're losing folks here. I've got 2 or 3 left. I got Dung Ho, and I guess I want to make, I asked if all the Verde folks would testify, but I see Nelsie Upsall. Is she here? Don't see her, so that's good. If I didn't miss her then. And how about Keiko Andrus?
And Dung has the lead.
Okay, thank you.
We got his in writing.
Oh, we got his in writing. Thank you very much, yes. Thank you. Yes.
Do I wait for that green light to come?